All good. Well, thank you for joining me, Henry Calvert, and the world of content creation.
Of course, Martin. Of course.
I think we're going to have to touch base on very briefly on how we first met one another.
In the Travelodge by King's Cross Station on the first day of filming Beauty and the Geek.
Absolutely, our matching face masks.
Yes, it was quite unnerving actually, because I walked into the horrid breakfast room at this Travelodge.
The croissants in the far corner.
Yeah, the dry-ass croissants and disgustingly cold tea. And this tall, 6'4" ginger man comes bounding up to me and goes, "Oh, you're wearing a black face mask. Are you Beauty and the Geek?" And I'm like, I didn't know anybody knew about this. I'm not supposed to be telling anyone I'm here. But I was like, yeah. And he was like, "Are you a geek?" Yeah, and then that's just how it started, and we spoke for the rest of the morning, and then went off and filmed in Greenwich.
Because actually before that, you showed me the first. I'd gone on Beauty and the Geek, not knowing what Beauty and the Geek was.
Yes, that's right.
So you were showing me the episodes of this is going to be us in an hour's time.
Yeah, it was quite surreal because I'd watched it because watched the Australian season of the show, which I'm sure we'll touch on as well. I watched the first season of the Australian show. Well, production kind of forced me to try and convince me to sign up.
Yes.
And then when you said you had no idea what you were doing, it's like I had the episodes on my laptop, so we sat and watched season 1 of Australia, their first episode, and it was very weird because then, of course, an hour later we were doing exactly what they were doing.
Yes. Sort of meeting everyone for the first...
Giving everyone our first lines of introduction and...
Yes. No, I can't remember. What was your first line of
Well, they kind of scuppered me because they said to me, they were like, say something that people wouldn't expect.
Yes.
Like, that they wouldn't know about you. So I was like, right, I'm a gangly, like, bit of a nerdy guy. I'm going to say that I love 90s hip-hop and R&B, which I do. Like, New Jack Swing music's like my favourite kind of music.
Yes.
So I mentioned that. But then all the other geeks were like, Natish said, I like Pokemon. You said you sell model aeroplanes. JB says he likes Lego. I'm like, I might as well have just gone, I like Star Wars. that would have been a better fact. Because then sure enough in my VT it cuts to me doing an Emperor Palpatine impression.
I love that. And who is an Emperor Foundry impression?
An Emperor Palpatine.
Palpatine.
We'll get there. Emperor Palpatine is the big baddie in Star Wars, and he sounds a bit like feel the power of the dark side of the Force, Anakin. Let it consume you. That's I did that on national television.
That is brilliant. It's sort of you're spreading. That was Star Wars?
That was Star Wars.
That was Star Wars because I do like it. Although you're very good even on your TikTok as well, sort of kind of introducing people to new things that they might when you introduce your non-geeky friend to geeky things.
Marvel. For example, we did a video where I introduced you to Lord of the Rings. And
that was The Hobbit. Is it The Hobbit?
Hobbit is like the prequel to Lord of the Rings. Yeah, we've yet to touch on The Hobbit.
Okay, yes.
But no, Lord of the Rings... And yeah, no, the best part about doing kind of social media, for me anyway, is when I get a comment being like, I read this comic book because of you and I love it. And, I've read 60 issues of this or I've watched this and it's, changed my life. Or what really gets me is that when kids get into musical theatre or performing and they're like, I love it. Like, I saw your video about it and now we do it. That is so cool.
Yes.
So if I can keep doing that's like, the main goal with the whole social media thing. Oh,
okay, yes, because I really like how I've always wondered, Henry, it's like how do you kind of structure or think of like if it's geek rap or introducing? It's like you almost like script it out in your head.
Yeah.
And then you actually go out and do it. It's always incredible.
Yeah, it's always a different process for each video. The skit, like comedy sketch videos, take a bit more time to think out. But inspiration just kind of comes from who I'm doing the video with. I'm fortunate that I've got a lot of performer friends who are more than happy to kind of bounce ideas off of and experiment and play. And I've got so much nerdy stuff in my room that there's inspiration everywhere. And for example, I did a sketch where I played the La La Land theme on piano, and that was literally because my friend Lottie came round and we just did that.
You just
Yeah,
played.
and we were like, oh, let's stick this in a video, because I want all my videos to feel natural and not too forced. So I try not to script anything out too much.
I understand. You sort of have kind of an idea, but then when you're in the moment, sort of just seeing how it flows and goes together. I love that. That's fantastic.
It feels more human, I think. It doesn't feel as stagnant or forced that way.
Yes, because you started off on TikTok posting these.
Yeah.
Videos.
I started out on TikTok in 2021, March 2021.
That was Corona.
Yeah, so
Yes.
just out of, well, no, I'll say out of. I'd say during the third and last lockdown, I went through a bit of a rough period. Like, I broke up with my girlfriend. I didn't really have anything going for me. I was working at my family's business. Like, I didn't really have much going on.
Yes.
So I thought, right, what's something that I can do purely for me? And at the time, I was reading hundreds of comic books, and I started out doing comic book recommendations. And between early 2021 and March 2022, I got to about 15k on TikTok.
On TikTok. That was just making videos.
Yeah, that was just comic book recommendations, maybe some film breakdowns, just that kind of thing. But I found towards the end of that year that videos of just kind of my personality started doing well.
Yes.
And something kind of clicked in my head that, like, my audience isn't watching for my recommendations anymore. They're kind of watching for me, which was like a really surreal thing.
Okay, so that sort of must be a weird mindset of sort of, you think you're doing it because people like the comic books, but actually they're doing it because they like
I
you.
think because I was doing it, I did it for a year straight, people started to pick up on my opinions and like my characteristics. And so when I did more vloggy style content, I guess, which was more centered on just me being me as opposed to nerdy stuff.
Yes.
Those videos did really well. And then what I got my big break off was a video of me getting ready for a night out and then dancing to a Phil Collins video. Easy Lover by Phil Collins is to this day probably the greatest song of all time.
The song is the greatest song of all time, and
I owe it my career. I owe Phil Collins my entire life.
Because when did that was April last year? It sort of started to pick.
Yeah, it was. I uploaded Phil Collins in March 2022, and then I went from, like I say, maybe 15k to about 100k in the space of 3 weeks.
Oh, and that was like just one video.
And then we shot Beauty and the Geek in April.
Yes.
So it was kind of weird. I went. March was a jam-packed month because I got into drama school. The shows that I were directing and that I was a part of, we did. I went viral, and then in April I went and filmed Beauty and the Geek. So it was really weird. Coming out of Beauty and the Geek, it was like this new social media life.
Yes.
Was happening, and I didn't quite know how to handle it or how to navigate it because it was just so fresh and new. And again, the show hadn't even come out at that point.
The show hadn't come out, and we couldn't talk about the show, so...
Made everything very difficult.
That's it, yes. Yes, okay, so the show hadn't come out and sort of navigate... And then how do you sort of navigate those sorts of things? Like, because you recognised a lot in the streets or walking around York and...
Yeah, it's weird.
What's that mindset or that...
It really... It was a bit unnerving at first. Like, for 21 to 22, I got recognised maybe like twice at Comic-Con.
Okay.
And I thought that was it was the most amazing thing ever. It was like, oh my God, I'm actually having an effect. People are watching my stuff. And then when things really took off, I still struggle with it now, but when it first happened, I was like, this is really weird. I can't go out as normal anymore. Like, I'd be in York with my nan, and then a herd of kids would like come up to me for selfies, and I'd be a bit unnerved because I'm like, I just want to take my grandma for coffee. Like,
You just want to go to Betty's or
yeah,
something.
yeah. But then you don't want to come across like ungrateful or anything. So, but when it's been you've been lived a normal life, like doing these normal things that you've done for years.
That's it. Going to school, going to college, or
the comic book shop. When you go to the comic book shop, that
yes.
changes, and then it's all flipped on its head, and you're watching. You're almost paranoid.
How you handle yourself, how you hold yourself, or what you might do, or
and that's just for like I'm just a TikToker. I dread to think how like Brad Pitt or these actual celebrities feel.
Yes.
It was a weird thing to try and wrap my head around.
Sort of kind of navigating it. Well, that's interesting. I remember when I started getting recognised at model aircraft events I remember when I started to get recognised at the model aircraft shows I was at, that I always found that kind of a bit of a weird one, because I was just wandering around, and then all of a sudden someone would kind of shout my name and go, "Oi!"
Or go, "Rupert Bear."
Rupert the Bear, yes. Just because I wore yellow trousers and a red shirt, I started to kind of get recognised as Rupert the Bear. And I remember it was always like a weird one, because at first I genuinely didn't know who these people were. They knew me, but I didn't know them. And then it was kind of like, okay, I'll navigate it, and I just simply asked them who they were, or who they were, or are you a customer of mine? Have you done this, or have you done that? Are you just simply a customer of mine, or how do you know me? And then actually from that, I kind of managed to kind of build up a network and sort of just got to know a lot of people. But it was terrifying, sort of navigating that kind of world. And I think kind of on the subject of travelling the world, travelling to Australia, meeting Beauty and the Geek contestants in Australia.
Yeah, that was a wild old time. We don't really know how much I'm allowed to say on there.
You can say whatever or however little.
Off the back of our show airing in September, October.
Yes.
At some point last year, our Beauty and the Geek aired.
Sometime, yes.
And off the back of that, the Australian cast got in touch with you and me.
Yes.
Just us for some reason.
And
then we got to know Mike Gambaro, who was on season 2 of the Australian show. And he invited us out for his 21st birthday. Within the space of maybe 2 hours of him inviting us, Martin had already booked his plane tickets.
Yes.
But not just to go to Brisbane. No, you booked like a trip around Perth, Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, everywhere for about a month.
Yes.
Within the space of like 2 hours of getting this invitation.
I messaged Aaron, who's actually on the show in a couple of weeks' time, and I just sent him a message, and he was like, "Oh, it's Mike's birthday. You should come." And it's like, okay, I've booked my flight tickets.
Yeah, I said maybe for about a month. I don't know. It took me a bit of convincing, because I was like, I don't know these people. Getting to Australia is expensive.
Yes.
The flights alone were what, like...
Couple of grand?
Yeah, mental. So I waited until I had a good financial month.
Yes.
And booked the tickets, booked the hotels, and then in May this year, I think
May
it was
this year.
May this year.
Or April. May. It was May.
You had 3 weeks out there without me, meeting all of the cast, and then I went to Brisbane for 4 days. About killed myself with the lack of sleep and jet lag. And we had the most marvellous time.
It was brilliant.
Yeah, got there. First night, I remember we just slept, and then the second day... This is
I know what's coming up.
Mike tells us... first off, second day, we're wandering around Brisbane. Lovely city. I really like Brisbane. Great weather as well. And we're walking around the river, and we're a bit lost. And then this bloke comes up to us, who seemed a bit normal. I don't want to know his name. I'm glad we didn't tell him our real names, because he was a bit weird. And he was a bit weird because he was quite proud in the fact that he was a satanic monk. and he was probably the weirdest man I think I've ever met in my life. He had Madonna written along one forearm and Eminem written along the other. And when asked why, he was like, oh, you know, they came up from nothing and their work ethic's great and I'm always inspired by them. But when we asked him what he did, he said, well, you know, I sleep for most of the day. I sleep for most of the day and then I just wander around at night. So it's like, so you don't work, but yet you're inspired by Madonna and Eminem's work ethic. Right. So we eventually got rid of him after about 3 hours.
Oh, it was. We were just walking around that whole, like, pier area.
It was awful. And then we went for dinner. Mike had booked a Mexican restaurant, and we rocked up to this restaurant, and the table was set for about 8, or maybe 6 or something. There were a few
somewhere
chairs, but there was only 3 of us. So we're like, who the hell is coming? Like, who's coming to this meal? And sure enough, there's these 4 girls walk in. To put it plainly, not wearing a lot. Very good looking. And Mike's like, oh, lads, these are my friends. They're the strippers who work at my strip club that we're going to tonight. What?
Mum doesn't know about this.
We didn't know this. We did not know that we were going to go to this place.
No.
So we had this meal with the girls, and honest, lovely people. Like,
it was a really good conversation.
Really good conversation. You were speaking to them for ages about book recommendations and their career and how they got into the trade.
It was a fascinating stuff. I really hope. I hope to get one on the show.
Yeah. They were lovely. And then, sure enough, we go to Kittens in Brisbane, the strip club.
Kittens on Caxton Street.
Yeah, and I have never felt more scared in my life.
The angle grinder.
We walked in, and there was just flesh everywhere. And I was like, I do not know what to do. I don't know where to look. I don't know what the hell is going on. But when the girls came up to me, I knew to be like, I literally don't have any cash. Sorry. Martin did not know this. You did not know to do this. So these girls had come up and obviously they talked to you for a while to try and get you to buy a dance.
Yes.
Martin...
I think
you did not clock on to this. You were busy asking them again about books and their life and where they live, and not in a weird way, but just like
I was just curious.
And I remember you speaking to one girl for about 20 minutes. And me and Mike and Noah were like, oh my god, this needs to end.
We had a really good conversation.
You had a great conversation while everybody else was getting lap dances. And some stripper was angle grinding a metal plate on the stage.
on her chest.
I've never been on drugs, but I imagine imagine if I were to be, that's what it would feel like.
Yes.
Yeah. But then that wasn't the first time, because then the next day was Mike's birthday.
Yes.
We met the rest of the Beauty and the Geek cast.
And what was that like for you? Because obviously I'd met some of them beforehand, but you just you'd flown out to Australia.
To meet all these randomers, essentially.
People we hadn't met.
Yeah.
Linked together through Beauty and the Geek.
It was weird how quickly we all clicked.
Yes.
I felt. It was strange. Like, I have a weird relationship with Beauty and the Geek. We'll get onto that. But I have a weird relationship with the show. I don't really like that I was a part of it.
Yes.
The only thing that I got out of it were you and Natish for a long time.
Yes.
And then going to Australia and meeting that lot, you know, talking about the experience with people who've been through essentially the same thing. Like, it was weird how similar a lot of our experiences were.
Yes.
Like, Michael is essentially me.
Michael
and Tara. Michael
and Tara, yes.
Yeah, like, there's so many similarities. And it was really... it was like a cathartic experience. And they were all so lovely. I can't wait to go back out and see them again. I think we were very fortunate to make such good friends out there. Yes. But the party was good fun. You got absolutely rat-arsed. And we kept kept bombing everybody
the
with business cards.
The Martin Thompson business cards.
In every photo at Mike's birthday, there's a Martin Thompson business card on this statue. It's everywhere.
It is, and if people just find them in their pockets and all over the damn wherever the place. I can't even remember if I was in the strip club. Sorry,
I'll tell you what you were doing in the strip club. That night, Mike had booked out the entire strip club, and we were there. Again, this is only our second ever time in a strip club, so we don't really know what we're doing. But
yes.
Martin, we'd made friends with the strippers at this point.
We'd made friends that we'd shared book recommendations.
Yes, we were pally with Bestie was there.
The Bestie, yes.
And you said to Bestie, there was this hoop. There was this hoop suspended from the ceiling. And on our Beauty and the Geek, Martin did something on a hoop.
Burlesque dancing.
Burlesque dancing on a hoop, and then you fainted.
I fainted and then did the burlesque dancing. That was it.
But you go up to the manager of this strip club and ask her if you can have a go on this hoop. to which she allows it for some reason. So I now have a video of you on a stripper hoop, spinning around like a madman with this girl beneath you. There's a moment, which isn't captured on this video, but I'm stood on like the other side of the room. I turn around. Martin is swinging around this hoop with this girl beneath him. Swing, swing, swing. Bang! And kicks her in the head.
I am sorry.
So the takeaway from our Australia trip is that Martin kicked a stripper in the head. That's what we tell people. And people are always like, what? And then we dive into it. But
it's a good icebreaker.
I like that being the tagline.
Martin
Thompson kicked stripper in head. But she was a good sport about it.
She was. I apologised profusely. And then we wrapped up and probably experienced the longest flight I think it literally is the longest flight in the world.
I think, what is it, QF1 or Q1 or something?
QF1, Qantas,
yeah,
something.
It is the longest flight in the world, and it did me in. It was awful. What was it, like an hour from the hotel to Brisbane to Sydney for like 2.5 hours. Hour stopover in Sydney, 9 hours to Singapore, 10 hours to London. And then I had to get an hour tube from London to King's Cross, then get a 2.5 hour train from King's Cross. I hadn't slept either. I don't sleep on planes because I just can't. 2.5 hour train from King's Cross to York. I get to York to get my connecting train home, which should only take about like 15 minutes. Every train was cancelled. And the worst part was I called my mum. She couldn't get me. I called my granddad. He's like, no worries, kid. I'll come and get you. I'll be 10 minutes. Sure enough, 2 hours later, he rocks up. And I'm like delirious at this point. And he's like, oh, sorry, lad, your grandma had to walk the dog. She didn't need to be here. She didn't need to come. And I was so past myself. And the worst part was I got home at about 3 p.m.
Okay.
So if I then went to sleep, I'd wake up at like 4 a.m. or something.
10 p.m. or something silly. Yes.
So then I had to force myself to stay awake until about 8.
Fantastic. Well, not fantastic, but the journey...
I think I was genuinely going insane towards the end. I've never felt anything like that. It was awful.
Yes.
Also, Martin, weirdly, likes plain food.
I love plain food.
This genuinely might be the weirdest thing about you, is that you like plain food.
You know what my favourite thing is at the moment? It is the €11.99 Ryanair lasagna meal deal.
I think there's something like actually wrong with you.
I don't know what it is.
That's the best. You've eaten at my house. You've eaten at nice restaurants. And you like the... Sorry, mother, but Martin's favourite thing is apparently £11 Ryanair lasagna.
Just for the record, Vicky, the beef Wellington, still the number one.
Yeah, I should think so.
Ryanair lasagna... Number 2.
Close second.
Close. It's a close second. It's a close second. It's a close second. But I think touching on a little bit about the family and your gran picks you up.
My granddad and my baba.
Baba. You took Baba to That Avatar?
I did. I took Baba to the Avatar world premiere
Premiere.
December last year.
And what was that? They just talk me through.
Well, that was probably one of the most surreal moments in my social media career. I've done a lot of stuff with Disney, this year, last year. I do a lot of work with Disney.
Okay, we like Disney.
And I love Disney.
Yes.
And they invited me to Avatar, and I remember Baba taking me to see Avatar, the first one, in 2012 or something.
This is
Whenever.
way before TikTok.
Yeah. When I was like 10, 11, she took me to see it in 3D, and I remember it vividly. And I was like, if there's anyone who's going to come with me to Avatar, gotta be Baba.
Yes.
It's the one film series that she loves.
It's a good link as well.
Yeah. So she came with me. She was on the red carpet. Got the photos. I have a picture of me and my grandma on the red carpet for Avatar: Way of Water, which is really weird. And then the after party was at the Natural History Museum. And Baba, bless her, I was a bit worried that she wouldn't be able to do the whole night.
Okay.
But we got to the Natural History Museum. There's a drum orchestra playing. There's a choir. The blue whale skeletons above you. She loved it. She lapped it up. And what was really special at these events, I tend not to go up to the actual celebrities because they're there to have fun. I get a bit nervous.
But you're Henry Calvert.
Yeah, I'm Henry Calvert, and they're
Will Smith.
Will Smith or Ollie Will Smith and Ollie Murs. Was a weird duo. But the will.i.am was at this after party, and Baba saw him and was like, Henry, that's will.i.am. I love the voice. I love his music. I was like, how the hell do you know will.i.am?
Wait,
hang on.
Yeah, we need to follow up on that.
Yeah. She wanted to meet him, so I was like, right, okay, let's go. So went over to will.i.am, kind of lingered for a bit because I didn't really know how to. But anyway, he finished his conversation, and he immediately turned around and went, "Hey, Grandma, how you doing?" And dapped her up, gave her a hug. I've got this video of her making him laugh, and it was so special. And then we got a photo all together, and it was just really. I have a photo on my wall of me, my grandma, and will.i.am at the Avatar after party. It's like, what the hell is my life? How have we got here?
How? And was that probably one of the more stranger after parties? Of all the events you've been to?
I think the Avatar one was probably the most unique and probably the most pinch me.
Yes.
Because I met will.i.am. I met Andy Serkis, who plays Gollum in Lord of the Rings. Caesar in Planet of the... I love Andy Serkis's work. And I got introduced to him, and I really, really nerded out. I
love that. And kind of when you're meeting all these kind of celebrities or people, although there's sort of a bit of apprehension and nervousness initially meeting them, how do you find it once the conversation starts flowing with them, or you sort of kind of get talking?
Yeah, it's okay. I've done a few junkets, film junkets. So I interviewed the cast of Shazam.
Okay,
and
that's Lucy Liu,
Rachel Zegler.
Yes,
that lot.
Yes,
and that was my first big junket, and I was so nervous for that. Because I'd never done anything like this before, and these are superstars. It's Lucy Liu, it's Rachel Zegler, she's Maria in West Side Story. Wow. But especially Lucy and Rachel, they were so lovely. Like I said at the start, I said something along the lines of, "Oh, this is my first day on the job, guys. Do excuse me if I fumble my words or
just
anything."
Just be kind. And you probably don't quite know how to do the interview, so to say.
But they were so nice, and at the end they were giving me "Oh my god, you did amazing," and all this stuff. So that was very cool, and you just kind of click in your head at one point that they are people.
Yes,
they've all probably experienced similar nerves to what you're experiencing, and no, it does get easier when you kind of get the whole they're people, they're literally just people.
Yes,
they're fine. And yeah, sure, there's probably some people that are a bit abrasive, but you can't really blame them.
No, or if they've had a long day or they're just tired.
Like most of them are jet lagged because they've done like 3 days of press in 4 different countries, and yeah, you can't really blame them if they're a little bit wound up.
Yeah, it's just a little bit tired. So with the junket side of things, what do you think is next for Henry Calvert's social media career?
Yeah, social media wise, I feel like I don't want to be doing the exact same thing that I'm doing now forever.
Okay.
I don't think it's sustainable. So I'd love to branch into kind of more presenting, hosting stuff, because all of my background's in like theatre and stage, and that kind of thing. So if like doing the junkets can help facilitate that kind of thing, that'd be great.
Yes.
Radio would be cool.
Oh, okay.
I really like radio, but like the dream, the end goal for Henry is I want to be Graham Norton. I don't want to be Graham Norton. I want to be like Graham Norton.
Be like Graham Norton.
Yeah, I want to be Henry Calvert.
Quite the transition. To,
I've got time. I think Graham Norton's like in his 60s or something.
Oh, okay.
So we've got time.
30 odd, 40,
Yeah.
almost 40, well, about 40.
40 years, yeah.
40 years.
I've got plenty of time to get there.
Sort of kind of, yes, to allow that transition to happen. And with presenting, would that kind of be on television or in a theatre or
I think...
or hosting an event?
Yeah, I'd like to... I could see it transitioning from doing kind of event stuff, live streams, all that kind of thing, hosting that kind of thing, main stages at Comic Cons, things like that. That could be cool. Because I look at the people that present Comic Cons, and I'm sorry if any of you do present at Comic Cons, but half of them don't have a clue about anything. It's a Comic Con. Like, get people who know what D&D is or have read a comic book in their life.
Yes.
Please, because it does my head in.
They sort of just maybe pick. Would you say someone just gets picked up and then it's like,
Yeah.
today
It's like,
you're presenting this, or you're
And so
doing...
you don't know how to speak to a comic book artist. You didn't know what their inspirations are. Like, it needs to be a bit more personable, I think.
Yes.
So I'd love to do stuff like that, and then progress from that into, the end goal I'd love to do TV.
Okay.
If they revive Beauty and the Geek again, I think that could be
season 3.
If they revive it again, because it's dead now. Our season didn't do well enough. I don't know, blame us, I guess. Blame Discovery, I don't know. If they revive it again, I'd love to have a pop at that.
Oh, actually, that's interesting with hosting.
Matt Edmondson, I'm coming for your job.
Watch out, Matt Edmondson, if you're watching. If you're watching this, Henry is pursuing in your footsteps.
I think I told him that once. I think I told him that when we were filming, yeah.
Because that's interesting, because some people say that kind of like hosting or mainly public speaking is like the worst, is almost the same fear as death almost, or the...
Oh, yeah.
Is it the second... No, public speaking is rated number 1. Death is rated number 2.
As people's biggest fear.
As in people's biggest fears. And here you are just actively pursuing...
I love it.
What's it about you love?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I've just always been on stage. Like, from a kid, it was like my thing. Like,
yes.
I went to a very sporty school, and while everybody else was the best rugby players in the county, I wasn't.
Oh, that's surprising.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'd make a great second row.
Yes, you'd be right in... What's it when they all kind of come together and...
The scrum.
The scrum,
See, yes. I know the theory. I know the rugby theory.
Okay.
But the practice...
You're book smart. But is it book smart?
There we go. Yeah,
book smart. Okay, yes.
Yeah, I have the height for a second row, but I don't have the build. So while they were all doing that, I would book my music lessons for... sport time, like, so I could skip it.
Okay.
So I was either in chess club or singing lessons during games or PE or whatever.
Yes.
And at Cundall, which was like my primary and secondary school.
Okay. And where was that in the Yorks?
Yeah, that was in like the middle of nowhere in North Yorkshire.
Oh, okay.
There I was like I was one of the only boys that really sang in my year. We had like some other lads were in the boys' choir, but my boys' choir was like 4 kids.
Oh,
and it was
okay.
just like me and 3 of my pals who wanted to like skip games.
You didn't want to be in the scrum
Exactly.
on a cold field.
So I kind of made it my thing, and I was lead singer in the bands and the choirs and all that stuff, and the plays. And then, I kind of fell out of love with it for a year because I moved schools for sixth form, and I just needed to readjust.
Yes.
And I did Hairspray in upper sixth.
And when you say you did Hairspray, what did you do?
I was Corny Collins in Hairspray,
Oh my God.
which is a role I think I was born to play.
You were born to. I'm not familiar with the role, but is it sort of like Henry?
It's very
amplified.
Yeah, it's very. He's a like a Today host. He hosts a dance and music show.
Just lively and
yes. And he's cool, and that really reignited my passion for performing and made me fall in love with being on stage and engaging an audience again.
Okay, sort of that engaging an audience must be quite hard to sort of kind of bring them all.
Yeah, and it's the best feeling when you manage it, like when you have an audience fully invested in what you're doing.
Yes.
They're all there, experiencing every emotion you want them to feel, whether it be a play or a song. When you've got them, that feeling is like unrivaled because you're either brightening someone's day by making them laugh, or you're making them kind of become introspective on stuff that might have happened in their life and kind of think about that and work through it through a song or whatever.
Sort of that, maybe emotional attachment to the song or the play.
Exactly.
I hadn't thought about it like that.
It's like even when people are like crying or whatever, like they're gaining something out of it.
Yes.
Because they've got that emotional connection to it. And that feeling I really miss.
You really miss making people cry?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Especially no. No, I just I need to get back on stage.
Yes.
I need to get back on stage because I love doing social media stuff, and I have an audience there on social media.
Your Instagram followers are rocketing at the well.
We're doing okay.
Rocketing, yes.
But I need to do more in-person stuff. I want to get back singing and dancing and everything.
Oh, that's interesting. So although with social media, the numbers are looking good and that's kind of going well, there's sort of maybe kind of not more for life, but there's sort of the other side. Although you've got numbers and things like that, it's actually kind of the in-person stuff you enjoy doing the most or wanting to get back onto.
I just really miss it. And I think whenever, when social media started, it was like, wow, this is so fresh and this is so new and this is... And I still feel like I am so lucky to do what I do and it's still amazing.
Yes.
But, whenever you've done anything for 2 years straight without like any respite really, you always want to try something new.
Something new, yes.
Theatre brought me so much joy. So trying that again would be amazing. Okay. So I'm hoping my old theatre company might have me back for a show next year.
Fingers crossed. And is that in London or in Yorkshire?
No, in Yorkshire.
Oh, in Yorkshire. Because
No.
you spend a lot of your time now down in London.
Yeah.
But London is not like Yorkshire.
No.
And Yorkshire is not like London.
No, it's not. I came down... of course, I started coming down to London a lot last year when events picked up and...
Yes.
Me, HZ Joe and Andrew's Visuals, who are other creators.
Yes.
We would couch surf and split hotel rooms and, we'd have
floor.
like 4 of us in a double bed or, stuff like that. And did that for about 4 months until September when I went to drama school.
Okay.
And then I moved into a flat in Hampstead area because I went to Central. And I was there until January, which is when I fell out of love with Central and I dropped out.
You dropped out of university?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Why? Or how? Or just...
It was a bit of a difficult decision to make because I worked my arse off to get in there. Like
through the application processes.
Yeah, I mean, I left sixth form in 2020 and I had 2 years out.
Yes.
1 year not really doing a lot, and then a year, I was in Joseph, I was in Evita, I directed Beauty and the Beast, I directed We Will Rock You, I choreographed Aladdin. Like I did so much stuff to purely to get in there because I thought drama school was my end goal. That was like
once you're in drama school, you've made it.
Once I'm in drama school, that's me set for 3 years, and that'll be my life.
I get it. I understand.
But then social media came along.
Yes.
So I got into drama school in the September, and I was loving the social media life, like going to movie premieres, seeing my friends, just essentially living a social life as my whole life.
Yes.
And I loved it. And then I went to drama school and I was like, oh, okay, I've got to be in school again, essentially every day. And
You've almost you've had your freedom, but now you've had your freedom taken off you again.
And I really didn't like it. And I also thought everything that they were teaching me, I'd either already done or I could just learn kind of privately for cheaper.
Yes.
So what's the point? So I dropped out, and off the back of that, whenever anybody asks me kind of like what advice would you give people, I would always say like, don't be afraid to quit or end things.
Yes.
Some things can just go on for too long merely because people have this notion that they must see it through to the bitter end.
They've committed themselves to college or university. They don't want to be seen as weak or whatever it might be in stopping.
They feel like they have to see it through, irrespective of how they feel about it, how they're mentally doing. They have to do it. And I think that is such a dated mindset. And it's a mindset that I feel is like very forced upon people in schools, and every parent wants their kid to like, oh, never quit, never give up.
Don't give up. Yes.
But sometimes the best move is to recognize when it is time to call it a day, and take what you've learned and apply it to something that will be more useful to you.
Yes.
And I like to think that that's what I've done since I dropped out of uni.
That's okay. I understand. So, and that's what you've done. And I take it the message, if you could kind of wrap everything we kind of talked about almost up, it's sort of kind of don't be afraid to end things, and always sort of just try and
just I would. It's probably the most generic thing ever, but follow your heart. Follow your heart. Do what you love, and don't be afraid to kind of put other things aside to pursue that. If you feel like something is holding you back or weighing you down, don't feel obliged that you have to keep that thing there just because you can't give up, or don't quit.
Yes.
Cut that thing loose. And crack on doing what you love and follow your passions.
The beauty and the geek experience.
Yes, the beauty and the geek experience. Probably one of the most unique experiences ever. For us.
I think so with beauty and the and the geek. I quite like the saying, and I'll see what you think with beauty and the geek. My great aunt, who's about in her 80s now, and she's an amazing character. She'll read something in the newspaper. You might see a common theme with this. She'll read something in the newspaper about a new housing development in Germany or something.
All right.
And she'll get on a plane and fly to Germany, stand outside the housing development, and interview people who comes out of the housing development.
That's a very niche hobby.
Niche hobby. And so I think she's very wise, and I got a lot of, I really, really respect Carol. But she said to me, there's no such thing as a free lunch. And I think that kind of can potentially link onto Beauty and the Geek, because so many great things came from doing the show, but then at the same time it came at quite kind of a considerable cost. So say, would you...
I would.
What would be your thoughts?
My relationship with Beauty and the Geek is not very good.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it's bad, but I'm kind of indifferent about it now.
Yes.
Which is indifference is bliss.
Yes, I understand.
I would say. I still hate a lot of the people who we did it with, and I don't like watching it back because it makes me think, why the hell did I waste my time with some of these people?
I watch it back and I honestly can't remember some of the stuff we did. It's like, I can't... the weird thing is, it's like, I can't remember that cast. Who is that person?
Yeah.
And it's just weird.
It is a bit. But anyway, the act of filming the show was cool.
Yes.
Yeah, filming
the challenges,
the
the
challenges,
tour buses. Oh.
I think the fact we're doing reality television,
Yes.
it was like, wow, this is a cool, unique experience that only us and the Australians
get to
have done.
And I think even I remember walking around with you. I know I wasn't walking around. You got noticed on the film set by the random member of the public saying, "You're the Phil Collins guy."
Yeah, that was the first time anybody calls me the Phil Collins guy outside of the apartments in Camden.
Yes.
But filming it was good, and we all, for the most part, got along during filming.
Yes.
Nice atmosphere. Everybody pretty supportive. By the end of it, we were very tired.
Oh, exhausted.
And I think we understood. I don't know, watching it back in the first couple of episodes, you can tell that, or I can tell that I'm afraid to say no to stuff.
Yes.
I thought whatever production says goes, do it, play up to the cameras, be their caricature, be who they want you to be. But by the end of it, I was very, I'm not doing that. Like, that's not me. It's a reality show. If you want me, I'm going to do this.
You're going to be you.
Yeah, I look like this, I talk like this, and I will act like this.
And rap like this.
Yeah. But since coming out of it, you know, I was with the person that I met on the show until January.
This year?
Yes.
Okay, yes.
And like I actually got a good long relationship out of the show. So Beauty and the Geek worked for me.
Yes.
But I guess things ending with her soured my taste for the show.
Okay, yes.
Probably.
I can follow. Yes.
Yeah, because it makes it a bit difficult to rewatch now. It also makes it really difficult to go on dates now, because you go on dates and of course, like, people see my socials, because everyone's a bit of a stalker when you go on a date. Like, you will look at their socials.
Yes.
Be like, oh yeah, you did a reality show. Yes. Oh yeah, no, I watched some of it. Why?
You're just going to get your feelings hurt.
Yeah, it's like, why would you want to watch me like fall in love with some other girl?
Yes.
I don't get it. And it's happened a couple of times where they're like, oh, you're just telling me you're just saying to me what you said to her on the show. I'm like, I don't know, that's just how I speak.
That's just me. I'm just being me.
I don't know what you want me to say here. So it makes it difficult in that regard. It kind of does my head in when people like, oh, I know it does your head in as well. Oh, you're the Beauty and the Geek guy. I'm like, no, I'm not. Luckily, I don't get that a lot, because Beauty and the Geek did not do that well. And whenever anybody's like, oh, you're the Beauty and the Geek guy, I go, oh, did you watch it? And they go, no, I saw your videos about it. And I'm like, right, okay then.
That's good. It's sometimes people say, Martin, I'm really sorry, I've not watched the show yet, and it's like,
don't apologise.
There's nothing to be sorry about. If anything, I think more highly of you.
Yeah.
It is a tricky one. Sort of, going on dates or meeting people afterwards. It's something that neither of us would be here without Beauty and the Geek. But then it's like when you're sort of kind of the relationship side within friends. So you don't mind talking about it, but it's like if you're going on a date or relationships with people, and it's like, I just don't want to talk about my ex.
When people is the word pry, when people are like digging for information about it, and I think there was a moment in Australia when we went out where someone was asking about our show, and Martin just disappeared for about 3 hours.
Vanished.
I was like, where the hell is Martin? And you come back and you're like, Mr. Calvert, I've just been to a poetry reading. It's like for 3 hours.
It was really
How
good.
long were the poem?
It was brilliant. There was a Q&A and everything. I was just wandering around Brisbane and found myself in the Q&A for this poetry competition.
But when people pry...
It's just have that respect.
It's like, right, know your boundaries. I don't owe you anything. I don't owe you a full explanation. But God, I wish we were allowed to talk about some of the stuff that happened on that show. I've mentioned it. I've mentioned it a couple of times in videos, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, what happened? When are you going to spill the beans?" And I'm like, I don't know if I legally can. I don't know what the contract says, but there was some messed up stuff that happened on that show that really shouldn't have happened. And
Don't know what you're talking about, Henry.
Yeah. It was a lovely show. You had your differences.
It was a lovely show.
But yeah, there was some serious stuff that really, really wound me up in the production of that show. And then when it come out and the edit, God above, if you think you're going to do reality TV and the edit's going to treat you nicely, it won't. Like, there will guarantee you there will be something that will make the cut that you don't want to be in there. For example, me rapping to a girl on a first date.
Let me upstairs to get the whipped cream. Can't have ice cream without whipped cream. Plus a nice cube to make you sing. My main man did it and did the right thing.
Why don't we rap on a podcast instead?
You know, Martin, I've done enough bloody rap. In fact, no, I'll tell you what happened. I was on a first date with this girl. I liked this girl. She was beautiful. She had a lot going for her.
The one on the show?
The one on the show.
Okay, that one.
Yeah. Beautiful girl. Had a lot going for her. Really into her. Have this date. I'm like, oh, this will be nice. I get to actually get to know her. No, don't be preposterous. That's not going to happen. Sat down having drinks, and my immediate thing is like, oh, so what music do you listen to? What plays do you like? What do you like? Tell me about yourself. They don't want to know that. There's like 8 other people in the room
With cameras.
and then a director will come over and be like, okay, Henry, that's great, but how about you talk about the upcoming challenge and how you feel it's going to test your relationship? What a natural thing to talk about. Like, come on. So then what happens? Oh yeah. They go, Julie, ask Henry about his hobbies. They know full well that I like New Jack Swing music. Because in my VT, when they came to film my VT, they saw my record collection. And I was like, oh yeah, I can rap all of that stuff. Like, that's my thing.
Yes.
So Julie goes, oh, what do you like to do in your free time? And the director's behind the camera going,
Not as in rap, as in finishing.
no, rap. So I go, I'm like, oh yeah, no, I like to sing, I play guitar and I rap. Julie then says, which didn't make the edit, Julie says to me, oh, go on, do it, do your favourite song. But that wasn't in the edit, so it looks like I go, yeah, I rap. And then I go,
I think I need a rap from you.
oh God, okay.
You can have a drink of water.
Wait, hang on, I'm trying to remember how Is It Good to You by Heavy D and the Boys open. Ooh, oh, oh. How would you feel if I rubbed you down and made your head spin like a merry-go-round? Take control like Charles in charge. I really can't wait. Let's stay another round. Whoops, let me upstairs to get the whipped cream. Can't have ice cream without whipped cream. Plus a nice cube to make you sing. My main man did it and did the right thing. Come on, let me tickle you in all the right places. Keep my eyes open while I watch you make faces. Feeling quite manly, comfortable and cozy. Let me draw the curtains cause my neighbors are nosy. So make a little room. Here comes Big Daddy. Big like a truck, satisfying like a caddy. Many are called, but the chosen are few. And all I want to know, is it good to you?
That was brilliant to me, Henry. That's all I can say.
Thank you. And I did that on a first date.
She was a lovely
On national television.
On national television. Can it get even better than that?
Well, no. I mean, the second date, I kissed her, and it was possibly the most awkward kiss ever aired. Even yours was nicer. I kissed her and then she laughed at me. So that was fun.
I didn't want to kiss mine.
Yeah, I remember. But yeah, that was my first date story.
That was your first date.
And then they edit it to make it look like I proposed to her. Do you remember that?
I can't remember. I was very drunk when I watched it back.
Yeah. Yeah. Episode 7, the Comic Con after party. A big episode for Martin.
If you haven't seen episode 7 of Beauty and the Geek, check it out on Discovery Plus. But it was quite a big episode, and I had to settle my nerves with about 2 bottles of champagne.
And then a vodka pasta. Because
that is a video someone
I've got it. I was like, why have you got a vodka pasta? It was like, well, it was the only meal with alcohol.
Of course.
But of course. So, yeah, no, Beauty and the Geek is a weird thing that happened in my life that came at a very weird time.
The right time, would you say?
Filming did, because I was a teacher at the time and we filmed over Easter.
Brilliant.
So, and I was single and I fancied myself a girlfriend.
Yes.
And I got a couple of good friends out of it.
Yes.
And I want to hasten to add, I don't hate everyone that we did the show with. I've got, it, you know, I'm very close with you and Natish.
Yes.
And, you know, I do like a few other people that we did the show with. I think very fondly of Sasha. But there's just a lot of stuff that happened post-filming and during filming that made me see people's true colours.
Yes.
And they'll probably say the same thing about me, but I just couldn't care less at this point.
Yes. It's in the past. It's in the past. And
I
for the
doubt
future.
we'll ever see them again. So
I think on that note, we'll wrap up this lovely interview. Thank you so much for coming on.
No, thank you for having me. It's a real pleasure.
That's good. Who knew when we were in the travel lodge
that we'd end up here.
That we'd end up here.
I know, it's great.
Awesome. Thank you very much for coming on, Henry.
Thanks, Matt.